Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. Here's my talk. Today, I want to talk about the teachers' expectations perceived by students in an online learning environment. There are four parts of my talk. First, I will introduce the background, and then I will review the previous scenarios in this field. And the third part is about my study and its implications. The last part, I want to talk about some insights I've got in this course. So let's begin. The well-known Pygmalion effect refers to the fact that children or students tend to live up to what's expected of them, and they tend to do better when treated as if they are capable of success. It showed that teacher expectations worked as a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, you already know whether or not this will be a good talk. You've already decided. But what if our expectations didn't just predict reality, but created it? This idea has implications for all of us and is especially true in our schools. So, it is very important for teachers to communicate positive expectations with their students. However, since the outbreak and rapid spread of COVID-19 in the early 2020, the whole world has been under its shadow, including schools. When facing the government's stay-at-home policy, the schools had to quickly take emergency measures and adjust the courses to online teaching. This is a huge challenge for both teachers and students, and everyone is struggling to adapt. Faced with such a dilemma, it is no longer realistic for teachers to use traditional ways to convey high expectations. So, as teachers, what should we do? First, let's look at some good ways teachers usually use to convey positive expectations in face-to-face teaching environments, which can be classified into three kinds: individual level, class level, and school level. Firstly, for the individual level, in the classroom, teachers may wait longer, criticize less, praise more, and give more opportunities for questions to those students. But in Zoom sessions, teachers are less likely to ask questions and may not wait very long because it will become much more boring for online teaching. Both teachers and students are less patient online. Secondly, for the class level, educational researcher Ruby Davis found that students' grouping, classroom climate, and teachers' public feedback could be different for teachers with high expectations for the whole class. Well, students' grouping is still applicable in online teaching but become more invisible, and classroom climate becomes much more difficult to build either. Lastly, for the school level, researchers found that teachers could take advantage of some school settings to establish a good school atmosphere, such as regrouping, increasing assessment methods, cooperative teaching, and encouraging students to participate in school activities, which in turn convey positive expectations to students. But in online teaching, school climate becomes very weak to be perceived by students because most of the settings are difficult to implement online. To address this dilemma, my research focuses on how teachers can effectively deliver positive expectations in an online teaching environment. We randomly selected 120 students of grade 5 or 6 from 6 primary schools in Auckland. We conducted 2 interviews online at the beginning and the end of the semester, respectively, to study the students' perception level of their teachers' expectation of them and what teacher behaviors have led them to these conclusions. Students outlined 3 key areas: how learning was structured, the accessibility of the teacher, and clarity around assessment tasks. Firstly, the students referred to the different learning activities the teacher had organized for them. This included synchronous Zoom sessions and independent activities, such as using online platforms to practice spelling. The participants described how the variety of activities were both fun and challenging, and that their teachers encouraged them to extend themselves by setting goals. Secondly, the students talked about how communicating with the teachers, both in a group context and individual context, demonstrated that their teachers cared about them. In particular, students enjoyed the personalized feedback that they received on their daily tasks. Lastly, teachers communicated their high expectations to students by making it clear what was required for assessment tasks. For example, some students noted that teachers explained their projects in different ways, such as by talking about the assignments in a pre-recorded video clip, uploading the marking rubric, and answering specific student questions. Students felt that by being supported to complete the assignment, that their teachers wanted them to succeed. In conclusion, teachers' expectations always play an important role in students' social, psychological, behavioral, and treatment outcomes because of its self-fulfilling. So we try to figure out effective ways of communicating to our students, especially in the post-pandemic period. Teaching environment turned to online ones and effective ways changed. According to this study, we found that well-designed online learning activities and personalized online feedback can be easily perceived by our students as positive signals of teachers' expectations. And clarifying assignments requirements by online methods is a critical support for students. At the end, I want to talk about some insights this course gave me. There are four aha moments for me while completing the ethics form and journal article assignments, which had challenged and changed my thinking and stereotype. The first aha moment is about the ethics form. Research involving human participants must receive ethics approval from one of the qualified ethics committees. You must consider the ethical issues and the potential cultural issues. The humanistic hell embodied in this concept was rare in my previous education, so it impressed me deeply. The second insight is about the problem of dehumanizing in measurement issue. Camden and Payton in 2019 have pointed out the problems created by overly simplistic categories. Much of the variation is lost. They use a data collection on sexual identities and gender as an example. This kind of information has been almost ignored in my own country. And the third moment that challenged my thinking comes when we discussed the relative merits of quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. Camden and Payton claimed that quantitative methods are neither neutral nor objective. Actually, we are so committed to quantitative analysis that we can't see the fact that they have accelerated white supremacist as the dominant ideology. So pay attention to the marginalized groups and make critical quantitative inquiry is a powerful insight and reminder. Finally, the last insight is about the structure of the article. Keeping a critical attitude towards the previous article reviews, recognizing the shortcomings of others' research, acknowledging and discussing in detail the limitations of our own research, and extending the research perspective to deeper and broader fields. All these insights show a critical spirit that I sorely lacked before. So I really appreciate the opportunity of having this course and learning with all you guys. Thank you very much.